Today we are going to study national income aggregates. Under this we are going to study basic terms, micro and macroeconomics, stock and flow, classification of goods, meaning and types of investments, depreciation, capital loss, domestic or economic territory. National income meaning, ways of calculation, some more key terms like NFIA, transfer payments, etc. What is microeconomics? It deals with at the level of individual unit, a household, a firm or an industry. Simply, microeconomics is the study of individual economic units of an economy. Microeconomics is also called price theory, as theory of product pricing and theory of factor pricing fall within the scope of microeconomics. For example, microeconomic theory, law of demand, law of supply, determination of producers, equilibrium, determination of consumers equilibrium, etc. Macroeconomics, it is a part of economic theory which deals with the problems at the level of an economy as a whole. Simply, it is the study of aggregate economic units of the economy. It is also called theory of income and employment because the scope of macroeconomics concentrates on determination of level of income and employment. For example, macroeconomic theory, theory of general price level, theory of national income, theory of international trade, theory of economic growth, theory of employment, etc. Now we are going to study stock and flow. Stock variables are those variables whose quantity is measured at a particular point of time. Stock relates to a particular point of time. It is quantity measured at a particular point of time, such as capital of a business, as on 1st April 2016 was 10,000 lakh. Stock can be understood as a still photography in which camera records the position of an object at a particular moment. For example, wealth, water in a tank, bank deposits, capital, a 100 rupee note, machinery of a sugar mill, etc. Flow variables are those variables whose quantity is measured over a period of time. Flow relates to a period of time. It is measured over a specified period of time, an hour, per day, month, etc. Such as fixed investment during November 2016 was 2,100 lakh. Flow can be understood as a video photography in which camera records the position of an object during a time period. For example, income, investment, water in a stream, interest on capital, capital formation, monetary expenditure, consumption of sugar, etc. Now we are going to study classification of goods. First good is intermediate goods. These are those goods and services which are purchased by one production unit from other production units during the year for further processing during the year. For example, raw materials, example sugar used for making sweets. Resale during the year by dealers without making any alteration by dealers. For example, sugar purchased by a grocer. Final goods are the goods which are either purchased or there is own account production for the purpose of consumption and investment are called final goods. These goods are outside the production boundary. These goods are acquired for consumption called consumer goods, investment called capital goods. Consumer goods, these satisfy wants of consumers directly. These are finally purchased by the consumer for the satisfaction of their wants, for example, bread, scooter, TV, set, etc. These can be further divided into 4 categories. Durable goods, these can be used in consumption over a longer period of time. For example, refrigerators, televisions, cars, etc. Semi-durable goods, they can be used for a limited period of time as compared to the durable goods, example, furniture, crockery, shoes, clothes, etc. Non-durable goods are used up in a single act of consumption, for example, milk, ghee, bread, vegetables, etc. Services. These are invisibles and are purchased for direct satisfaction of their wants. For example, services of doctors, lawyers, teachers, banks, etc. Capital goods. These are those final goods which help in the production of goods and services further. These can be used over and over again to produce goods and services. These have derived demand as these are used to produce goods and services demanded by the economy. For example, plants, equipments, machinery, etc. Now, classification of producer goods, we have already seen intermediate goods and capital goods. These come under producer goods. Features of intermediate goods. These are goods that are used by the producers, purchased by one production unit from other production unit. These remain within the production boundary, and production boundary is an imaginary line drawn around the production sector, signifying production process involved. The value of intermediate goods is not included in national income. This is done to avoid problem of double counting. Now the features of final goods. These goods are used by consumers called consumption goods or used by producers called capital goods. These cross the production boundary and the value of final goods is included in the calculation of the national income. Now we are going to see meaning and types of investment. Investment means addition made to the existing stock of capital during the year. It increases productive capacity of the producers. So I is equal to change in capital. Gross investment and gross domestic capital formation. The total addition of capital goods to the existing stock of capital during a given time of period is called gross investment. Components of the gross investment are gross investment, that is gross fixed investment, gross fixed capital formation, change in stock or inventory investment. Gross fixed investment counts the following. Gross business fixed investment. It is defined as expenditure on fixed assets, for example, machinery, equipment, factory building, etc. Gross residential construction investment. It is amount of spent on construction of flats and residential houses by producers, households and government sector. Gross public investment. It is expenditure by government and hospitals, schools, roads, dams, etc. Gross fixed investment, stock of fixed assets at the end of the year minus stock of the fixed asset in the beginning of the year. Inventory investment. It is change in stock of finished goods and raw materials. Inventory investment is equal to closing stock of finished, semi-finished and raw materials minus opening stock of finished, semi-finished and raw materials. Now what is net investment? During the production process, some amount of capital stock is used up or consumed. This consumption of fixed capital in the production process is called depreciation. By subtracting depreciation from gross investment, we get net investment. Now we are going to learn another terms, depreciation and capital loss. Depreciation is defined as loss or fall in the value of fixed assets due to normal wear and tear and expected obsolescence. The concept of depreciation is very important in economics to understand the difference between gross value and net value. Gross is equal to net plus depreciation. Now what are the causes of depreciation? First is normal wear and tear. During production process, the productive capacity of the fixed assets, for example, machines, tools, trucks, engines, etc., goes on declining because of its continuous use, leading to fall in its value. Example, when you sell your car, it does not fetch you the same value you bought in for 2 years before. Expected obsolescence. It refers to loss in the value of fixed assets due to continuous change in technology or technique of production. For example, fall in value of typewriters due to introduction of computers is an example of technological obsolescence. Expected changes in the demand of goods and services due to change in tastes and preferences, fashion, trends, lifestyle, etc. Expected changes in government policy. Due to the above reason, fixed assets may have to be abandoned even when these are still working in conditions. Depreciation reserve fund. Owing to their depreciation, fixed assets need to be replaced after some time. Replacement of fixed assets required a provision of fund to enable the producer to buy a new asset after the expiry of lifetime of the asset. For example, if a machine is purchased for rupees 1 lakh and its expected lifetime is 5 years, then the annual provision of the fund would be 20,000. That is 1 lakh divided by 5. The fund is so accumulated is called depreciation reserve fund. Now what is capital loss? The loss is the value of fixed assets due to natural calamities like floods, fires, etc. Unforeseen factors like war, theft, etc. Thus, loss of value of fixed asset due to unexpected obsolescence is called capital loss. Provision for capital loss cannot be financed from the depreciation reserve fund. Provision for capital loss is insurance. Now, what is the difference between depreciation and capital loss? Depreciation loss is expected loss in the asset and maintained by the depreciation reserve fund, whereas capital loss is unexpected and is maintained by insurance. Thanks.